Hey, what up, YouTube? We're kicking it off with our UK news here on the News Underground. I'm Abandoned Nihilism, as everyone knows. You know, some have asked me, literally no one has asked me this, but some have asked me, why not use your name? And I was thinking to myself, well, the idea is more important than the name. You know what I mean? The idea is more important than the individual, right? And the idea is that we need to abolish and destroy nihilism. That's why. All right, but let's get into it. UK is having by-elections, and the meme. That's why, because I'm an edgelord and I love evil. Yeah, nihilism. Yeah. But no, in the UK here, I was about to make a really funny joke. It shouldn't be BY elections. It should be BYE elections. Get them. Get them. Because you know why? The electorate is saying goodbye to the conservatives, and they know it. They know it. They've completely shit the bed, and they just keep digging deeper, right? They just keep digging deeper. Oh, we're supposed to be pleased with Rishi Sunak, right? No, we're not pleased with Rishi Sunak. And what it's looking like is a rejection of the Tory government. The question is how big. There are still some holdouts, and these analysts here are going to get into it. They're very clean. They're wearing suits. They're freshly showered. Okay, three things that you cannot identify with me. All right. So if you don't want to hear from me, maybe hear from them. They're all proper. Look at them. They're so goddamn British. It hurts. Hurts my teeth just looking at them. Anyway, they're awesome. Let's dig into it. And I love to see it, man. I love to see look. What I don't love to see is the damage these conservative governments do. Right? The real world damage that these conservative governments do. How many years is the UK going to be suffering because of Brexit? Right? Britain specifically, of course. Right? What's going to happen with Ireland? Right? How much damage has the Tory government done? With that said, Ireland deserves independence, regardless. You know what I mean? If Northern Ireland wants to leave the and rejoin Ireland, come on. What are we talking about here? Of course, Ireland deserves to do that. I don't want some of them violent Irish guys that are like, pro separation from the UK and reunification. I want those guys coming after me. Those guys bash your teeth out. All right, let's get into it.
Right, let's have a look at some of those upcoming by-elections, shall we? Because we have a trio of them coming up, haven't we?
What is she wearing? Is this sportswear? What is happening?
What's going on?
That's right. So if you start with a quiz question, when was the last time a sitting prime minister, lost 3 by-elections on the same day?
No idea.
Thought you'd say that. July 1968. Harold Wilson was the last prime minister to see such scale defeat. Yet that is what Tory MPs fear next week. One of them is where Boris Johnson was the representative.
I wonder how you look bald. Lumpy.
You can see the Conservatives well in the lead.
Lee in his house. OG Lee. Welcome back, Lee. It's always good to see Lee. I love to see my elders in the chat. I appreciate that this is a Twitch channel that they appreciate, that they can watch. Props to the wiser people in the chat who have found the real news on Twitch. You had to go looking for it. I guarantee you. It was on the bottom. It was on the bottom. Everyone knows it's right on the bottom. It's always on the bottom. It's the last place you look.
Expected to lose this one. There is a row over the congestion charge, the ULEZ, which the Tories think is the only chance of hanging on to it. But they're really not sure. Let's look at the next one, which is Selby and Ainsley. This is in many ways the most interesting. This would require a record-breaking 18% swing for the Labour Party to overtake the Tories and win this seat. That would be the biggest swing in this Parliament. It would require overturning some by-election records. Now, some Tories think they may yet win this, and the last potential loss, which could actually go to the Liberal Democrats, that's the seat vacated by David Warburton down in the southwest. And if we can look at that slide, maybe not. There we go, Somerton and Frome.
Look at that one.
And again, this used to be Liberal Democrat until it was swept away at the end of the coalition years in 2015, and the Tories took it. But now I think the Liberal Democrats are pretty confident that they'll be able to overturn at least some of that. It's going to be a difficult end of term, I think, for Rishi Sunak.
How much does it matter? Look, we know that these could be difficult results, but is it going to make any material difference, do you think, if they do lose them?
I think
she's wearing like a sports dress. This is like a dress It's like a dress that you could go jogging in. It's so cool.
You know that these could be difficult results.
Like a tracksuit and a dress. Is it going to make any
material difference, do you think, if they do lose them?
I think a lot of MPs are looking at Selby and Ainsley, because if there's a record-breaking loss...
Yeah, so Selby is like Alabama, like deep South Alabama, okay? It's like if they're you know, starting to give up their Tory allegiances, then that's going to, you know, that's a canary in the coal mine kind of situation, right? That the Tories are going to be very, very worried that their bullshit just isn't working anymore.
That suggests that the Tories could be on course for a total wipeout in the general election.
And is there any chance of Rishi Sunak...
I don't think it's going to happen.
...facing a leadership challenge or anything like that? Or is this actually just more grumblings, more problems on the sidelines?
I think
modern Conservatives, because of the fact that they're so insulated, they have their own media, they have their own, you know, they totally avoid open discussion about their ideas. They demand that there's only one way to discuss these ideas, very specifically, right? Because of all those factors, it's really, really easy to get dug in permanently, to just never peek your head out and see the forest for the trees, right? To just always stay inoculated in your media bias bubble. So it's never been easier to just, you know, like I said, stick your head in the sand. So I don't know. I mean, how... Unless it hits the Conservatives directly. And here's the thing about a lot of Conservatives. They're poor, and I don't mean to be insulting. I really don't, because I was raised poor, right? But they're poor people, and they're already used to a lot of suffering. It's like their lives can't get much shittier. So they don't really notice as much when things get shittier, right? With that said, a big, you know, increases in food and gas can hit them the hardest directly. So... You would think they would be acting on it, but when they see that their media that they're saturated in, that they're drowning in, tells them it's the immigrants, it's the LGBTQ, it's the liberals, it's the woke, right? It's these are the reasons why food prices are going up, right? He did it. Remember he did it on the gas. You're probably still seeing him on the gas station pumps, right? He did it, right? Even though Joe Biden's bending over backwards, he really is trying to. I mean, the fact is, though, is that he could actually make gas prices cheap just like that, but it'd piss off the Saudis. We won't get into it anyway. I just wanted to point out that, you know, the modern Conservative has never been more locked in, you know, and regardless of facts, because, you know, they've been trained. That's a fact from a source I don't like. Fake news. That doesn't exist. That's not real. That's an attack against me. That's an attempt to, co-opt me into, right? You know, you're trying to get me, you know? So I don't know. They're locked in.
At this point, there is no realistic chance of a change. The question is whether or not the sort of motivation and the optimism inside the Conservative Party, which is not in great supply, I have to be honest, when you talk to Tory MPs, whether that drains away yet further. How strong is the campaigning operation? How committed are MPs to trying to go that extra mile? All of those things, I think, are in play at the moment, and people are looking at these results next week.
Yeah, they certainly will. You will be looking at those results next week. I have no doubt that Sam...
No, he seems like a nice guy. All right, let's get a little deeper into this a little bit. Let's see if we can't get any more information about the situation. If any more hints at, you know, where the demographic is going to go. Like I said, it's pretty hard to uproot these ticks, these modern Conservatives. You know, they're locked in. The media tells them how to think and reinforces their ideas. They think they've successfully identified the source of the issue. It's, of course, not conservative, you know, politics or politicians or anything like that. It's the immigrant, all those other scary things, right? So they think they know, you know, the thing that they need to go after, right? And, of course, fake news and anything that challenges that narrative. So...
He's had a rather good day today. Not only did he get to announce the end of the teacher strike that's been going on in England, much to the frustration of many households. It looks like the teachers are probably, it's the expectation of the union leadership, going to accept that dispute is over. He got also to announce that he was going to fund it without borrowing and be very virtuous as he sees it. And he feels you suspect that he's raising the money in ways that voters might not be very cross about. The two particular cash raises that he pointed at were additional charges on migrants from abroad coming to this country to work. But the junior doctors clearly are unimpressed by the pay award that he's offered to them. They have the capacity.
Little context right now. He's talking about the strike that healthcare workers are currently engaging in. They're trying to get fair compensation. You know, I mean, some of these healthcare workers are getting absolutely screwed by you know, these health. You know, it's a little different in the UK. There's not as much private stuff happening over there, so it's really just a failure of the government to fund this. You know, an attempt by the Tories to, I don't know, look fiscally responsible. I mean, honestly, who wants this? When you're fucked up, when you get hit by a bus, you know, and you're getting treated, what are you thinking to yourself? Boy, I hope this hospital's saving money. You know, what or would you prefer a happy, well-paid doctor and staff, right, in a well-funded hospital to take care of you? Which one would you prefer, right? When you're getting hooked up to the machines and getting knocked out by an anesthesiologist, you can die. You can die right there from an anesthesiologist who doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, right? You're thinking, oh, I got a bunch of shit to do tomorrow. Hopefully I can recover, and then you're. Really? Are you going to be, you're going to put on your grave? Wow, we saved a lot of money at the, NHS. So happy. So I don't even understand the Tory position on this. They should be throwing money at this and being like, oh, we care more. It should be a contest about who cares more about the people. And it's like, they're doubling down and tripling down on this oligarch style, let them eat cake. Triple down, quadruple down on trickle down economics while they become massively wealthy in front of us. Right? I showed that Ron Perlman clip yesterday from the writer's strike. It's like, how far are you going to push this, motherfuckers? Really? You're going to sit here and brag about how you're going to try to make us homeless, right? So you can win a contract dispute to pay us pennies? While you make millions literally creating nothing. Anyway, it's back to it. So anyway, he's talking about the strike that healthcare workers are doing because they're not being fairly compensated by the NHS.
To knock his pledge reducing hospital waiting times off course. Public sector pay review bodies were saying there was an enormous problem with retention in the public sector. And you kind of feel, some people say, maybe the government was going to have to accept these offers anyway, and maybe should have done it sooner. And this may leave some people in the public sector, maybe even elsewhere, thinking strikes work.
What do we want? Fair.
Yeah, and we can't have that. There's this big power dynamic that's never talked about by the MSNBC crowd in the United States. It's nice to see Channel 4 bringing this up. British media is, even the BBC, as shitty as it is 300 times better than CNN. It just straight up is. But it has its big biases. Come on. Peter, why are you protesting in London, Peter? What are you doing? Did you take the Peter-copter to London? Is that what you did, Peter? Oi.
When do we want it? Now!
Junior doctors beginning their unprecedented 5 days of strike action today. Unimpressed by the government's pay offer, way short of their demands. But for the teachers' unions in England, the government's pay award for this year looks like it'll end strike action that's been underway since February.
I get no chat activity from that, really. I get nothing out of you guys, man. You know what? Even though my chat is the smartest, I know you guys are all doing everything, right? I get nothing from that. Bro, if that shit was German, fuck you, Chem Goblin. Man, if that shit was German, that shit would be, the live stream fails. Oh, the funniest thing. German's so funny and clever. Everyone sucks. Where's my parasocial relationship? You guys suck.
February.
I want a parasocial relationship.
Rishi
you guys
Sunak
suck.
Announced that.
They're suspending all planned strikes immediately. Teachers will return
Where's
to the
my
classroom.
sycophantic obsession?
Disruption to our children's education
Weirdos.
will end.
We take that as a compliment, really.
All right, enough of my bitching. Let's hear what he actually had to say. Buy my merch. Not you, Lenny. Don't buy my merch. You're not allowed to buy my merch anymore.
Union leaders even let Rishi Sunak announce that.
They're suspending all planned strikes immediately. Teachers will return to the classroom. Disruption to our children's education will end.
We take that.
He's the most robotic motherfucker I've ever seen. He's so bad at this. He's so rigid. He's so coached. You know what I mean? He's so fake. He's so utterly fake. You know what I mean? He's really kind of bad at this. I'm not even going to make fun of his ears. He's really kind of bad at this.
To the classroom. Disruption to our children's education will end.
We take that as a compliment, really, that the Prime Minister wanted to announce the deal with us. I think that's a testimony to the strength of the National Education Union.
Yeah.
As well
Maybe you are funnier than me, Kem Goblin. Shut up.
as the Teachers' Pay Award of 6.5%, junior doctors are being given a 6% pay increase, plus a one-off payment of £1,200. Police and prison officers are awarded 7%, and the armed forces between 5 to 6%. English junior doctors' leaders
Cops always getting the bigger share. God.
said their action would continue. Rishi Sunak warned
They'll take the money, but they won't take direction in terms of reform. You know what I mean? Oh, they'll take our money all day, but they won't listen to us in terms of how we want to be policed.
it wouldn't get them any more money.
Now that we've honoured the independent pay recommendations, I implore you, do the right thing and know when to say yes. Today's
Know when
offer
to
is
say
final.
yes.
There will be no more talks on pay. We will
No more
not
talks.
negotiate again on this year's settlements, and no amount of strikes will change our decision.
Strike.
Well, you know, he might be accepting it, but I'm pretty sure that our members will not. Unfortunately, this is yet another sub-inflationary pay rise for most doctors.
The government said most of the
Rishi
NHS
Sunak
rises
bot.
would be funded by the immigration health surcharge paid by visa applicants, going up from £600 to over £1,000, a 66% increase. Police and prison officer pay will in part be met by hikes of 15 to 20% in visa application costs. More money would come
Great.
from letting departments keep underspends and switch them to covering pay, and from mostly unspecified efficiencies.
We are asking governments to
You know what that's going to do? That's going to increase people attempting to enter the country illegally. You know, this right, neoliberal and right-wing idea that you can, how much behavior you can push, with fees and fines. I hate it. I hate it, man. Everything gets more and more expensive. Everything. There's a mafia over here in Canada who seemingly own every parking garage, every parking meter, and they're charging you up the wazoo, right up this whoop, right? It's nuts out here. I can't believe they're allowed to do this to us. It's like, what are you doing, right? What do you do? Like, what do you need? Oh, maintenance for the parking garage, huh? Oh, is the parking garage that have a lot of upkeep? I'm sure there's some upkeep to a parking garage, right? Oh, it's so expensive. Tens of thousands of dollars a year. That's why we got to charge this. And we have to do it in the most predatory way possible. Anyway.
And from mostly unspecified efficiencies.
We are asking governments, departments to reprioritise to support public sector workers, and that will mean in other areas it's not about cuts, it's just about focusing on public sector workers' pay rather than other things.
Yeah, but we're absolutely going to be cutting, and we're also going to be cutting taxes for the rich people that used to contribute to this system. They suck. They really do. Like, how long can you make lipstick on this pig? I guess we're going to see with these by-elections. As in by-elections. Oh, spill them teas. Yeah, I'm funny. You're getting a double dose of my corny ass now, Kem Goblin. Take this.
Reprioritizing means giving more money to some things and less money to other things. And the things you're giving less money to are clearly being cut.
The government insists it won't mean cuts to frontline services.
The tale as old as time.
Schools said that promise must be stuck to.
The devil is in the detail. So they're saying they will look at workload. That's been said before. They're saying they're going to cover the pay deal because in our school budgets, we don't have enough to cover this amount of money. So will what they're promising us actually cover what we have to pay out to teachers? That's going to be the issue for us as heads.
Rishi Sunak said the government deserved credit for backing independent pay review bodies.
So look at that. Priorities: have inflation, grow the economy, reduce debt. No one cares about debt, by the way. Cut waiting lists, stop the boats. No one cares about the boats. There's only like there's a small fraction of people that, oh, the boats, because they're addicted to right-wing media. I am sad. You fucking man. You need to leave me alone right now. Take that. Wake up. Yeah, what do you think about that one?
Thank you very much.
The teachers' union said he'd threatened to ignore them.
I got to get that off
they
my
made it very
soundboard.
clear
It's the
to us
worst.
that, if we didn't settle, then we would lose this award. And, the question that we had to ask ourselves is, even if we had really intensive action, 20 days or so during the autumn term, would that move this government? And we came to the conclusion that we probably thought that was unlikely.
Continuing strike action by junior doctors threatens to knock Rishi Sunak's pledge to cut hospital waiting lists off course. The Prime Minister said his inflation pledge won't be affected by today's pay awards because he wasn't borrowing new cash to meet them.
Gary Gibbon reporting there. Well, joining me now from Manchester is Dr. Vivek Trivedi. He's the co-chair of the...
Yo, he looks so chill on his comfy-ass couch. You think he's got it like balanced on 300? He's got like 30 books, right? With his MacBook right up there. He's got it framed right. Good lighting. Looks like natural lighting. He's got his window open. Man, Dr. Vivek over here.
British Medical Association's Junior Doctors Committee. Matthew Taylor, Chief...
Oh, and in comparison, yo, yeah. Oh. I'm not even talking about his Stone Cold Cemetery face. I'm not even talking about that. I'm just talking about the whole setup here. It's like, yeah, whatever. This is his home office, right? He's right in front of the front door, wherever. I don't care. Feng Shui, never heard of it.
Executive of the NHS Confederation, which represents health service employers. He is in York and with...
Oh, okay. So this guy represents the fucking bosses, the guys that are trying to cut NHS, trying to put more money in their pockets. Okay, it's all making a little bit more sense now.
NHS Confederation, which represents health service employers. He is in York. And with me is Anita Smith, a teacher at a secondary school in North Leeds. Thanks to all of you. First to you, Anita Smith.
Right next to the chillest dude that's ever existed. Okay, enough preface. Let's get into it. Let's be serious for a second here. Let's see what the debate is. Is there a real need to be cutting the NHS? Let's find out. I like this desk setup. All right, we're done. Why do they do this with the... They can't put their... Why? This is... Okay. All right, I'm done.
6.5%. It is not going to outpace inflation by any means. A good offer or just the best one you're going to get?
I think at this stage it's probably the best one we're going to get. And I think teachers, certainly my colleagues I've spoken to today, welcome what we see as an end to what's been a very difficult year. We don't want to strike. We don't want to be out of the classroom. But we, as we do with everything, we think of funding to schools and workload for teachers and all of those things, and it's become impossible. So we wanted to be recognised that we need more money injected into schools.
So you think most people will accept it and the strikes will be over?
Personally, I hope so. Nobody wants to strike. It's hard, It
sucks.
Cost of living. Nobody wants to lose money. Teachers so far have lost 8 days' worth of pay and pension contributions. It's hard to do that. It's hard to convince people that we want you to come out and strike with us.
I mean, for schools also today, the PM promised that there will be extra money. It won't come out of existing budgets. I mean, is that too good to be true?
It sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Which I suspect means it's too good to be true, sadly. There seems to be a bit of a hole. They've budgeted, we're told, for 3.5% increase, but an uplift of 6.5%. I mean, I'm no mathematician, but it looks like there's a bit of a gap there that needs filling.
I'm no mathematician either.
We know that they're going to have to make cuts. They've been told the Department of Education has got to make cuts, and that means for schools like the one I teach in, that where's that money going to be taken from?
We'll hope to come back to that if we get time. Dr. Vivek Trivedi, it's good enough for teachers. Why isn't it good enough for junior doctors?
Doctors like myself and the ones that I represent have lost more than 31% of our pay in real terms over the last 15 years. So an offer of 6% just doesn't go anywhere near enough to reverse the moral injury that this pay erosion has had on my colleagues.
No, inflation, these guys are not getting compensated fairly. Don't be give me that, oh, these guys are greedy, these guys are greedy. Like I said before, what would you prefer when you're getting hooked up to the machines? A well-paid, happy professional getting paid what they deserve? Or some overworked, underpaid, miserable SOB? You're his 30th cadaver today, right? Which one would you prefer? Right? This whole money savings argument. This is the shit the government should be splurging on, right? This is the shit that they should be, oh yeah, we just throw money at this. I don't understand this argument. Pay this man, please.
And if Mr. Sunak thinks this offer will lead to doctors feeling valued when it's yet another real terms pay cut in itself and will stop doctors from leaving, then he is out of touch with reality, I'm afraid.
So it is interesting because what happens now? He was really blunt today. Final offer, no more talking. What do you do now? Do you keep striking indefinitely, letting waiting lists rise ever more, with no prospect of getting anywhere at all?
Isn't it a shame that Mr. Sunak is, asking us to do the right thing when all we've wanted from his government is to have an open and honest and reasonable conversation? If we were afforded that in the first place, we would have never had to strike to begin with. But it was only because they ignored us that we striked in the first place. So if they continue to...
Remember, folks, strikes are inherently disruptive, okay? If you got this idea that there's somehow we're going to be able to get what we want from these oligarchs without pissing some people off and making life miserable for certain people, and, because it affects the hierarchy... come out of your bubble. Come out of this idea that we're not going to, that we're not going to have to, get a little dirty when we're pushing back here. That's the nature of the game. That's why they call it a struggle. Okay, it's not easy. We receive pushback. We have to push back. It's how it works. And if we allow ourselves to be pushed back on and we don't resist, they're gonna keep pushing. They're going to just keep taking. They'll keep taking until your kids are working in a goddamn coal mine, and then they'll ask for more. You think they're done with you? Once they cut your wages, once they pretend inflation's the problem, you think they're done? They'll be right back next season with a whole other slew of, oh, yeah, it'd be a nice to have. That'd be a nice to have. Couldn't we just do serfdom? Do we have to pay them in money? Couldn't we just pay them in credits? Oh, they'll be right back.
Ignore us or ignore us again, as Mr. Sunak suggests, then we will, of course, be calling for further strike action, ultimately to put pressure on him and his government, but only to come to the table, to have a conversation,
but he is saying
be able to provide a credible offer.
Sorry to cut across you. He is saying very, very clearly today, there will be no more talks. This is it. The strike should end. Do you think he's basically hoping for the best here? He's not quite telling the truth. He will come to the table if you keep striking.
It wouldn't be the first U-turn that he's made.
Matthew Taylor, doctors clearly not minded to accept this offer. Even if they did, can the NHS afford it?
Well, it doesn't look to us at first glance as though what's been identified by the Prime Minister and the Chancellor as the money that will be available to pay for the gap between this offer and what's in the budget will be adequate. And I think it's really important to understand the context in which this is taking place. So, in the NHS, we have something called the planning round, where trusts and systems agree their targets for the year ahead, targets in terms of improving efficiency and in terms of performance in areas like waiting lists. And I think every leader in the health service will tell you that planning round was really tough this year, and that they have set targets which are, many of them will say to me 105% level of the level they think is realistic. So we are already in a situation where it's very, very hard for us to meet our financial and performance targets. There simply is no fat on the bone. So we'll be interrogating the figures very carefully, because if more money is taken out of the health service, it will have an impact on services.
And in simple terms, if you can, what would that mean? At the moment, if you were forced to,
Could we simplify
fund this pay offer, what would it mean day to day for the health service?
Well, it would mean what the Prime Minister calls reprioritisation. And what that means is there are things that we won't be able to do. And in a sense, you get an insight into that. Today is the first day of a 5-day junior doctors
Don't
strike.
you love it?
We have made.
They just can't find the money. Oh, and if they strike, then we're going to have to reprioritize, and we're just going to have to lower, make it even shittier for everybody. And we can blame the lefties on that one. We'll just blame the lefties for that one. We had no choice. There's just no money. We're just totally out of money. This is your health, people. Left, right, center, whoever the fuck, Xenu. Right? Is there one thing society could agree to splurge on? You know what I mean? Treat yourself, society. Treat yourself. You get smacked by a bus. You're like, oh man, I hope that waiting time is at least 5 hours, man, because if it's lower than that, that means I'm spending too much money on healthcare. I'd hate to do that. I just don't get it.
Maintained accident and emergency. We will continue to undertake urgent operations, for example, for people with cancer patients. But in many hospitals, they've had to stop elective care, elective operations and outpatient appointments, which means that more people will join those waiting lists that has been announced to got even longer today. So patient services will be jeopardized. And actually, as you said in the report, the Prime Minister's own waiting list pledge will be jeopardized.
Gee, maybe you should listen to the protesters then, who just want to get back to work. If it's that goddamn important, and the people doing the job are this fucking unhappy that they would, most 99% of people doing a job, they don't want all this crap. They don't want to strike. You think any of this is fun? It can be fun. It needs to be made fun to keep morale high. But this, they want to just, they just want to do their job and get back to their life, man. I love it. I love the stone cold grave, the goddamn crypt keeper over here telling us why we got to accept less while they're pulling more and more money directly out of our paychecks, right? Taxing us more and more and more, filling us with a bunch of BS that, the reason why we're paying more for everything is strictly inflation, has nothing to do with greed. And on top of that, telling us the only way to fix this problem is to cut our wages, right? While the people that he represents are fucking billionaires. And we get a new billionaire every month, basically. Right? When is this? It has to break. There will be a tipping point. It's not an if, it's a when. No one can predict when. But you can't push people like this forever.
Dr. Trivedi, given all of that, given what is deemed by many to be the parlous state of the NHS already with waiting lists, what will be your next course of action?
Our next course of action will be, we remain open now to enter back into negotiations. We can use this suggestion and an offer from the DDRB as a basis to further negotiations. And if we're met with a government who treat us reasonably, who are able to work towards a credible offer, then we don't need to call for any further strike action. But it's important to note that actually during our previous set of negotiations in May, the government had sight of this DDRB report. They knew what the supposedly independent pay review body wanted to recommend, but still refused to offer us anything more than 5%, which is less than what this DDRB report suggested.
Very briefly, Anita Smith, the government has said this is about reprioritisation. If the money goes to public sector workers, it has to come out elsewhere. Across the board, do you anticipate cuts to services?
Of course, yeah. We can't magic money out of nowhere. So there will be the reprioritisation in schools will mean that there'll be cuts to staffing. bigger class sizes, and parents will really start to notice that if they haven't already.
Anita Smith, Dr. Vivek Trivedi, Matthew Taylor, thank you so much for joining us.
Isn't this great? Isn't this the coolest fucking thing that they've set up? This is a system that they've built, right? They've set it up so that we have to choose between well-paid professionals or miserables, you know, people that are not fairly compensated versus having services altogether, right? It's an either-or situation that they've set up. There's no third option. There's no bailout. If these fucking teachers were bankers, if these doctors were bankers, we'd magic up some money right away, wouldn't we? Horrid bullshit. Horrid bullshit. And we're supposed to accept this dichotomy. Well, you either higher taxes or you got to look, I understand things cost money, and yeah, maybe taxes will go up, but they don't necessarily have to go up on the middle and lower classes. And that's, you know, and that's like the assumption. We literally, the assumption is we can't touch the rich. That's like, you know, and that's how the media stays dishonest with this, right? Because they accept that assumption. That the only way is to, you know, to gouge the middle class and to, you know, get them. We can't touch compensation. Good luck, you know, finding a discussion about executive compensation on mainstream fucking media. It does happen, but it's rare. So I just love it. I love the fake fucking setup that they got here, that we have to choose between well-paid professionals, happy people, because people will just leave. You know, the good ones leave. They go find places where they can be compensated fairly for their skills and intelligence. That's how it works. And let me tell you, man, you know, I've been making lots of doctor's appointments lately for me, my son, right? Lots of medical shit going on. And I can tell you one thing, I'm extremely grateful for well-paid, happy professionals. And they're not getting paid enough over here in Canada either. There's a major problem as well. Big race to the bottom happening as well. But I let them know I'm extremely appreciative for their time and their expertise on the various matters that I'm talking to them about. And you goddamn well right, I want them paid well. If you're one of these motherfuckers that thinks that they can save money from healthcare, fuck you, dude. Okay? Fuck you. And I don't wish ill will on you, but I would like to know your next hospital experience and what that was like and what you think about that. Anyway, thank you so much. That's my UK update. Pay your teachers, pay your goddamn doctors, nurses. What are we doing here? Thank you.